All right, man. So I wanted to do some eye opening stuff. You know, when you in a profession like you talking about sports, you're an analyst. You do opinion pieces and you do all of these different things and you give your opinion every single day to the masses. I think a lot of times, a lot of people don't really get no facts and they're really not breaking it down the way they're supposed to be breaking it down. You're not doing enough detail. You're doing surface level stuff. And sometimes when you skim over the top of something, you can start to paint things in really broad strokes. And sometimes it's important for you to actually see and hear and listen to what's written on paper first before you give an opinion. Say, G. Bush, what you talking about? This Deshaun Watson situation. I'm in Cleveland. It's something that you deal with because people that deal with football only care about football. They don't care about all the rest of the stuff that comes with it. They don't care the fact that this is somebody's lives. These are people's lives that we're talking about. And sometimes they get real flippant. Oh, he should just go ahead and and plea bargain down. He should just take the suspension. He should just pay him off and get it over with so we can have our quarterback for 8 games. And I've always told people, as a black man in society, there's certain things I don't care what you tell me to plea bargain down to. If you're trying to tell me that I sexually assaulted somebody and I didn't, I got 30 more years to fight it. If I'm factual and I'm truthful, there's some things you don't plea bargain down to just to get it over with. Like I got your wife, your kids, your mom, your dad, your brothers, they all have your last name, right? So why would you embarrass them? Why would you put yourself in a situation where from now on you're gonna be known as a sexual predator? And the thing about this is, I'm not gonna get too far into it because then YouTube won't show the video. So I'm not gonna get into the graphic details or any of those situations. But what I am gonna do is I'm gonna read some transcripts. And I feel like people have just dismissed transcripts, right? This is everything I'm saying right now is public knowledge. If you don't believe me, look it up. I'm going to give you the case numbers. I'll give you whatever you need to do. And the reality of it is there's a lot of people that's doing the same thing I'm doing that could be looking up real facts, could be looking up two sides of a story, could be putting information out there to get the public something to make an informed decision about whether or not they like a person or not. But the reality of it is that's already baked in. Some people are not going to like Deshaun Watson regardless. Some people ain't going to like him because guess what? That means my favorite player, Baker Mayfield, ain't here. Some people ain't going to like him because, well, those allegations, I just don't like them. And some people, just to be really truthful, I'm going to be honest with you, they don't like black quarterbacks. They just don't. Like, let's be clear about that. I don't got to tiptoe around the fact that some people would rather have somebody else behind center. Come on now, this is public knowledge. We've already been here. We've done this before. But first of all, let me just get to the nitty gritty. I got to get to something. I'm anxious to see how this plays out because there's a lot of people that 22 allegations, G. Bush. Yeah, them allegations. And I already preface this by saying this. If it comes out he did it, I don't have to pivot on nothing. I could just say, yep, dang, bro, you did that. You got to serve the punishment. Yep, you admitted to it. You got to serve the punishment. I don't see why it's that hard. I don't got to come out now and say you innocent or guilty. I can say, did you go to trial for that? No. Did the grand jury indict you? No. Well, I could wait that out. I don't have to make no decision now. See, people do things for fake. They be posing. You doing stuff for moral high ground. You ain't moved by it. You just saying, oh, well, I'm just looking to capture the moral high ground. Because there are so many people that I can never watch the Browns again. I can never watch the Browns. My organization did this. I can't believe they have a guy who would do these things. I'll never wear my colors. I'm rooting for a different team. Well, let me see if you got the same energy over here. Because I've always said it. It's two different standards and scenarios and standards. Let's go to the docket here. Let's get some information on whether people could keep the same energy as they do when you're dealing with an athlete or an old rich white guy. Let's get it to it. Boom. Let me slide this in here. So this is obviously this is back in December 3rd, 2020. It's by a guy named E.J. Dixon. Robert Kraft had his charges dropped after allegedly getting a hand job in a massage parlor. The women didn't. The women involved in the case have to pay thousands of dollars in fines. Now, some would say, Robert Kraft would have the most money to pay in fines. But as you can see, when you're poor and you're an immigrant, or you're poor and you're taken advantage of, the rules are, everybody can stand on the rules, the rule of law. But we learned quickly that those rules aren't the same for everybody. Because Robert Kraft not only didn't get a suspension, not only don't people talk about it, he didn't even get fined. Take a look at transcripts. I'm not going to read all the way into it. But it says earlier this fall, Florida prosecutors dropped charges against New England Patriots owner Robert Kraft for allegedly getting a massage at the Orchids of Asia day spa in Jupiter, Florida, on the grounds that the surveillance footage used to try to prosecute him was illegally obtained. But even though Kraft has managed to avoid the fist of the law, the women involved in the case, largely middle-aged Asian immigrants, have not. 3 employees of the Orchids of Asia, including 2 women who are allegedly have provided services to Kraft, have been ordered to pay thousands of dollars in fines related to the case and are facing months of probation. In 2019, Kraft was charged with solicitation as part of an anti-sex trafficking investigation into a sting about 10 massage parlors in Florida. Prosecutors allege that on 2 separate occasions on January 19th and 20th, 2019, video surveillance footage showed Kraft engaging in a sex act with a worker at the massage parlor. Kraft was charged along with 24 other males in the bust. He pleaded not guilty, and his charges against him were dropped when a Florida appeals court ruled that the video surveillance footage featuring him had been obtained illegally, making it non-admissible. Local police initially referred the investigation as a sex trafficking sting, and much of the media covered it as such. To the chagrin of many sex worker activists, the language of the sex trafficking was used over and over again, and ultimately all of those resources went into locate adults engaging in consensual activity, says Dr. Jill McCracken, co-defender or co-director of the sex workers' rights group SWAP Behind Bars. To me, this is a huge problem and a waste of resources. Prosecutors later determined that there was no evidence that sex trafficking took place at the establishment, and it was somehow easier, continue on, for law enforcement in South Florida to believe that women had been sold into sex slavery by a global crime syndicate than to acknowledge that immigrant women of precarious status, hemmed into in circumstance, might choose sex work. Vanity Fair writer Mei Jiang wrote in 2019 piece about the flawed investigation. Now, when we talk about this, we always look at these things. We look at these things all the time. Every single time something happens, it comes out, well, not only did we not find anything on Robert Kraft, we can't even charge him for anything. Isn't that crazy? Isn't that nuts, man? Even though, what a coincidence they obtained that illegally, right? They obtained it. Listen, it's so crazy, right? It's so crazy that we just so happened, we can't do that, right? Situation is this. It's very convenient. But in the case of Deshaun Watson, he had his case dropped too. So you say, G. Bush, what are you saying? Well, if Deshaun Watson is going to supposedly get 8 games, I saw nobody pounding the concrete for Robert Kraft in 8 games. I saw nobody saying you got to sell your team. I see nobody saying he need to give up the biggest fine in NFL history. Because people talk about protecting the shield. What's bigger than the quarterback doing it? The owner. What's bigger than your wide receiver being in trouble? How's about the guy who pays the wide receiver? But see, this is the thing I'm preaching to you guys all the time. This is why when people jump up and down and say, oh my gosh, we have to do something. No, you don't. See, they don't really want to do anything about it. I'm going to go to work and I'm going to get on Cleveland radio and I'm going to have 96 people talking to me about 22 allegations, G. Bush. They have to do something. 22 allegations, G. Bush. I mean, this doesn't look good for the league. No, you know what don't look good for the league? Your owner of one of the most illustrious teams in one of the flagship organizations, known for the Belichick way. We do everything right. Not only don't they do everything right off the field, they cheat on the field. They take people's practices, they deflate footballs, but yet and still, you see this, it seems like 1985. What's good is bad and what's bad is good. They gaslight you and they say it so many times that you think, well, maybe they are a pillar of the society. Maybe there wasn't anything there. Even when caught on act, even when caught on tape, even when it's in their face, they still face no consequences. You think it's a coincidence that we had somebody admit to assault on an Access Hollywood bus and laugh about it? No, there's no accountability. But yet and still, that person got votes and became the most powerful person in the world. And this guy still owns his team to this day. But I'm going to have to answer some questions about Deshaun Watson, though. Let's see if we can keep going on. Let's see if we can find somebody else with the quadruple standards. I think this just broke just now. Let's take a look at this. Let's add this to the stream. Oh, wow, this is a big one. I don't even know if I should say something for this because this guy, he's a billionaire. This guy owns racetracks and jets and electric cars and all that good stuff. But see, here, I don't care. I keep it a buck. You're not going to get me. I tell it like it is. Either way, that's how I'm coming with it. Either way, that's how I'm coming with it. Let's talk to him. This is another article. I'm just giving it to you. SpaceX flight attendant said Elon Musk exposed himself and propositioned her for sex. Documents show the company paid $250,000 for her silence. SpaceX aerospace firm, founded by Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man, paid a flight attendant $250,000 to settle a sexual misconduct claim against Musk in 2018, Insider has learned. The attendant worked as a member of the cabin crew on a contract basis for SpaceX corporate jet fleet. She accused Musk of exposing himself to her, rubbing her leg without consent, and offering to buy her a horse in exchange for an erotic massage, according to interviews and documents obtained by Insider. A $250,000 severance payment in 2018 after becoming convinced that her refusal to accept Musk's proposition had diminished her opportunities at SpaceX. The attendant hired a California employment lawyer and sent a complaint to the company's human resources department detailing the episode. Around that time, the attorney's firm contacted the friend and asked her to prepare the declaration corroborating the claims. The attendant complaint was resolved quickly after a session with mediator that Musk personally attended. The matter never reached a court of law or arbitration proceedings. In November of 2018, Musk and SpaceX and the flight attendant entered into a severance agreement, granting the attendant a $250,000 payment in exchange for a promise not to sue over the claims. The arrangement also included restrictive non-disclosure and non-disparagement clauses that bar the attendant from ever discussing the severance payment as disclosing any information of any kind about Musk or his businesses, including SpaceX and Tesla. Musk is currently engaged in a bid to purchase Twitter, driven by his professed belief that free speech is a bedrock of a functioning democracy. Early this month, he wrote on Twitter that sunlight is the best disinfectant. Twitter did not respond for a request to comment. Well, I'm glad Twitter is so liberal. I like that, man. So I don't think they would have a problem with me saying that I'm engaging and trying to figure out what's going on with this case. I mean, it's interesting to me. It's just quite interesting. You see, for me, I'm not surprised. This is my surprise face. But what I am I'm not as surprised about this either. How many times do we talk about this? How many times I went on Twitter just to see if it was a firestorm. I was like, good gracious, the world gotta be burning after this. This just dropped a couple days ago. I looked around and crickets, chirp, 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 chirp. Nothing. Nothing. You know why? Because obviously there's two sets of rules for two sets of groups of people. So when this happens, we already think that presidents and billionaires pay women off all the time. We also know that there is nothing you could do about it. As of 2021, the top 1% in this country own 33% of the entire country's wealth after 2021. Let that sink in. When you have that much money and all your friends are in on it, and all your drinking buddies are right there with you, what consequences are there? I already put all the judges in place. Good luck with that. I got more money to buy everybody off. Good luck with that. You can't cancel me. I own Twitter. How you cancel me and I own Twitter? I'm uncancelable. So people feel they feel like they have no power in the situation. People think that they can't say anything. What good is speaking out on any of this stuff when we know good and well it's not going to change? Well, a little on me, but I'm going to go right back to work tomorrow, and we're going to have to hear about 22 allegations. And how many games is he going to get suspended? I question you. Hey, put in the comment section. How many games do you think Elon Musk could get? You think he'll be on the board? You think he's going to resign from Tesla? Think he's going to withdraw his bid from Twitter? No, he's going to continue to walk around and do what he wants to. Somebody asked me, is that right? Hell no, it ain't right. At the end of the day, though, I can't give no allegations about nothing until you go to court. I asked, did the young lady go to court? No. Did she sue? No. Could she have sued? Yes. But you know why she didn't? It was easier to get to 250. So I'm not going to be on here killing Elon Musk, because at the end of the day, it does no good and he's going to keep it moving. So when we talk about Deshaun Watson, I can't root for the Browns no more, and I can't do this, and this ain't going to work for me. And it's, well, okay, well, all right. Well, I need everybody, all media members, all fans. I need this in one unison. Let's stand up together and say, we're not going to take this. We do not stand for this type of behavior. And let's just all disconnect our Twitter accounts. Just get rid of them. Who needs Twitter? We'll start another platform, right? We can go to Facebook. Oh, I forgot Facebook recruits too. What, like, are you gonna disconnect your Twitter account? No. So save all of the stuff about you not being a Browns fan. Save it. Because if you was really about that life, if you was about standing on these principles that you cry and you come to me and protest about it, you just simply what? You simply get off Twitter. But you're not. You're going to be on there hanging out because it doesn't matter. It doesn't affect your everyday day-to-day life. Now that we've exposed hypocrites and we've already established the fact that there's two systems for two different sets of people, let's get to the Deshaun Watson case. And I believe, if I could pull this up, I believe, I want to make sure that I got the redacted version. Now, there's a version of this document, a court document, that has the names of the individuals who they're alleging did these things. I ain't about all that life. Even though you can find it's public record, I'm going to stick with the redacted names because at the end of the day, I don't get down like that. You let them people live their life or whatever the case may be. I just want to get to certain parts of the case and just to point out a few little things. And this is what Deshaun Watson is saying. Now, obviously, Deshaun Watson ain't gonna come out and say this in any sort of deposition, any sort of news conference. But my problem is you didn't do any of your due diligence. Why every time I got to keep turning on the radio, it's 22 this and 22 that and 22 this and 18 this and 22. Well, let's talk about the other people that weren't part of the 22. Let's get to these facts. Let's get to these. Right? In this, they talk about his side of the story. Defendant Deshaun Watson's original answer. This is Harris County, Texas. All the information is there. You can find this as public knowledge, public information. Since March 16, 2021, when the first of the 22 lawsuits was filed against Deshaun Watson, he has become adamant that he did not engage in any proper conduct that has been alleged. At the same time, he and his defense team has insisted that they adamantly oppose, condemn, or disapprove of any type of sexual misconduct against women. Legitimate claims should be reported to authorities, taken seriously, and proponents treated respectfully. I totally agree with that. Look, if you get caught and you are prosecuted for sexual assault, they should throw you the key away on you, bro. That's no rebuttal. We'll continue on. However, in a few days, Mr. Watson has learned the identity of his accusers. The names are redacted. We'll keep them redacted here for that. His legal team has allegedly uncovered evidence that numerous allegations in the onslaught of cases are simply not true or accurate. Now, they go on to say, after the massage therapy sessions with Mr. Watson, 8 plaintiffs bragged about, praised, and were excited about massaging Mr. Watson again. If you're going to mention 22 allegations, mention that too. Mention that 8, right? Because if that's their allegations, that's their story. This is his story and what he's done background into. So all of this stuff about I should just blanketly believe anything, why? You got eyes, do your research. But people already got this preconceived notion about what it is. 3 plaintiffs lied about the number of sessions they actually had with Mr. Watson. 3 plaintiffs lied about the alleged trauma resulting harm. 5 plaintiffs, now here, the 3 plaintiffs lied about their alleged trauma. You can't tell somebody they didn't have no trauma, right? That manifests itself in a lot of different ways. That's your word versus her word. You can't really prove that. 5 plaintiffs told others they wanted to get money out of Mr. Watson. Now that's provable. That's called written statements under oath. And let's finish this one. Let me bring that back. I want to let me move myself up here. I want to look at this a little better. There we go. 5 plaintiffs have scrubbed the entirety and deleted their social media accounts. Now, let's be clear. That could be for one or two reasons. I'm being objective when I'm reading this. They could probably say, well, they're going to release my names. I don't want them to be on social media because I'm going to get hate mail. People are going to be trying to get at me. People are going to be just sending me death threats, all that stuff, how crazy people do. Yes, I can understand why they deactivated their social media accounts because they don't want to deal with that nonsense of day-to-day stuff. So I don't, that one and the 3 plaintiffs lied about their alleged trauma. I can't go with that because that's their trauma. People manifest that in different ways. So I'm being 100% objective on this. Let's continue on. It was not until the plaintiffs saw an opportunity for a money grab that they changed their stories and converted their therapy sessions. They bragged to family and friends to something much more nefarious. Innocent questions about whether their therapists were or whether the therapists were comfortable with therapy with Mr. Watson evolved into sexual innuendos that the plaintiffs used to bolster their claims for money. You guys can read that. I want to get into the rest of this. Right? So they go by detail. detail by detail, his side of the story and what his lawyers found in the initial process when the grand jury was sequestered. Let's take a look at it. Mr. Watson received the plaintiff's names less than a week ago. Based on what we have been able to determine so far, these plaintiffs are not victims of any type of misconduct, much less sexual misconduct. Let's go to Exhibit A. After the massage therapy sessions with Mr. Watson, plaintiffs bragged about, praised, and were excited to massage Mr. Watson. Plaintiff blank claims in her lawsuit that she was disgusted by Mr. Watson. Yet, after her therapy session with him, she bragged to friends and family members about massaging Mr. Watson and told them that she thinks he's a kind person. A security guard at the spa where Mr. Watson received the massage stated plaintiff blank was happy and laughing after her interactions with Mr. Watson. She was excited about having worked on him and did not want any other therapist to work on him. So not only didn't have a problem, she wanted to be exclusive, according to a security guard. According to a security guard present at the spa, after one plaintiff session with Mr. Watson, Mrs. Blank was laughing and appeared in good spirits. Another witness characterized Mrs. Blank's they characterized Mrs. Blank as jolly after working with Mr. Watson. And Mrs. Blank told multiple family friends that she would massage Mr. Watson again. She even told people that while she was not into men, quote unquote, his body is beautiful and soft, and that if she were not a lesbian, she would have jumped on Mr. Watson. This is all public record. So when we talk about 22, I think you should bring some of these to light. I don't know how you can believe it. I mean, all these women lying. I mean, come on. This is how do I even buy the Deshaun Watson jersey? This is such a hard stuff is kind of hard when you don't want to really look for it. The truth is easy to skim over if you never really take the time to even do any research or anything. I'm just saying it's there. Does it mean that all of this information is right or wrong? No. All I'm saying is present the angles. All I'm saying is present what it is out there. And this gives you more pause to say, well, okay, well, maybe we need to hear something. Maybe I would like to hear these arguments at a civil case. Maybe, you know what? This is kind of crazy. Like all these people, these is all different people. I never knew that. Maybe I do want to wait to hold on judgment at one of these civil cases. But we got people that don't do nothing but spew opinion with no facts behind them. And they say, well, I don't know everything. Well, you could. You could educate yourself about what the game is instead of repeating 22 over and over again. I digress. Plaintiff blank fails to explain that after the first two therapy sessions which she alleges were increasingly uncomfortable, she willingly invited Mr. Watson to come to her house for the last two therapy sessions. I'm confused by what somebody was increasingly uncomfortable for the first two sessions. Not only did you not bring anybody to say, hey, let me spot you. Hey, stay outside of the door because, this is kind of crazy. It's kind of, this dude is kind of creepy. You invited them to your crib, but suspend them for the year. Plaintiffs blank and blank omitted that after their sessions with Mr. Watson, they told him that they would gladly work with him again. In fact, blank reported to a close relative that she was thrilled to have the opportunity to massage Deshaun Watson. Let's keep going. Plaintiff blank claims that after the initial therapy session, Mr. Watson hounded her about setting up another session. She fails to explain that she eagerly showed up to Mr. Watson's house to give him another massage before he even had a chance to book an appointment. For people that's uncomfortable, I'm not going to your house. If I don't know, I'm not going to your house, bro. I'm just not. I'm not coming to your house. You're not coming to my house. Does this mean all of this information is correct? Does this mean that all these women is lying? Does this mean that Deshaun Watson is innocent? Hell no. But it does give you pause in saying, you need to spend 4 to 6 games. In that case, Elon Musk need to go too, right? Sure, he's going to step down on the board of directors of Tesla, right? You know he isn't. Let's continue to roll on. B, we'll go to, Exhibit B. Plaintiffs willingly worked or offered to work with Mr. Watson after the alleged incident. At least 5 of the plaintiffs chose to work with Mr. Watson even after they claim he acted offensively and aggressively in prior sessions. 3 individuals, there's redacted names, are the name of the people. This, of course, raises a question as to why would they agree to a follow-up therapy session when they claim that their experiences made them feel like they wanted to vomit and caused them to no longer accept massage clients for fear of repeat of this type of harassment. It's a good question. Maybe they should answer that in a civil case. We haven't got there. Plaintiff Blank claims she was fearful and felt violated and terrified and disgusted after her therapy sessions with Mr. Watson. She did not explain why then on more than one occasion. She messaged him after his football games to check in on him and asked to massage him again. Contrary to Plaintiff Blank, claims that she was so disturbed by what allegedly occurred that she could not that she chose not to contact Mr. Watson about receiving the rest of the payment for the session. The evidence shows that after the alleged incident, she did attempt to contact Mr. Watson and even asked to work with him again. In stark contrast to Plaintiff Blank statement that after the alleged incident, she told Mr. Watson she would not work for him and has not been able to move on from these experiences. She contacted Mr. Watson multiple times telling him that she was attracted to him and wanted to go out on dates with him. Now, see, this is what I'm talking about, people. But I hear everybody name out. Yeah, somebody said they were crying. I don't know how you could deal with someone crying and that just has to be 2 years suspension. These folks. Okay. I'm just continuing. I'm just reading the transcripts. These are, hey, I repeat, public documents. Please go take a look at them. Plaintiffs lied about the number of sessions they actually had with Mr. Watson. Following plaintiffs failed to mention that they had more therapy sessions with Mr. Watson than they pleaded to. 2 individuals, redacted here, presumably these plaintiffs minimized their interactions with Mr. Watson because these facts undermine their allegations. That's Exhibit C. Exhibit D. Plaintiffs lied about the alleged trauma resulting in harm. Now, some of this, I'm not going to go into this because I can't tell you what your trauma level is. It's unfair, right? I don't know what your trauma level is. Sometimes trauma plays out later on in your life. Sometimes trauma plays out in different ways. Hey, when I got a divorce, I didn't know I was stressed. And then all of a sudden I just broke down one day. People deal with death differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to admit that. You see, the difference between me and these other people, I'm trying to keep it 100% consistent. I keep telling you that some of it, I'm like, okay, well, listen, that's what your lawyer got to say. That's what you got to do. I'm not going to go to the emotional. That's hearsay. I don't know about their emotional state. I'm not a doctor, or I'm not, and I'm not going to say that they didn't have any. So what I'm going to do is just stick to the eye-opening stuff where it's like, yeah, somebody got to speak to that. Somebody has to speak to that in a civil court. Plaintiffs told others they wanted to get money out of Mr. Watson. Now, this is where I'm going to go through and I'm going to stop this as well. I'll link this in the description where you can find it. There's the docket, there's the case numbers, there's it's all public records. You can go check this out. Make sure if you want to do that, that's fine. And I'm even taking the redacted ones because I do have sensitivity to people's names being there. We're not about that. There's too many crazy people out here. I'm not about to put nobody's name out there and people looking up these people. That's dumb. But let's keep it a buck. Some of this stuff, this is the first time you hearing this. This is the first time anybody is sitting there trying to break this down and speaking to certain things in an eloquent way, not being biased, not being judgmental. I'm showing you What you should be instead of sitting up here, well, I don't know how you can, G. Bush, I don't know how you can say we know anything, but all I know is 22 looks bad. Well, all I know is if you tell your parents and your family and friends you want to get money out of somebody, that look bad just as well as 22. Let's get to it. Plaintiff blank told close family members that if Mr. Watson's attorney had paid her, she would have supported him instead of suing him. She also told her family that she had contemplated blackmailing Mr. Watson. 22, Alec, that don't look good, G. Bush. Would this look great? Plaintiff blank told a witness that the only reason she was getting involved in the lawsuit was for money. She even laughed about it and stated that she wanted to get in on the action. Now, when you're talking about indictments and people say, I don't know why you couldn't indict this case, it's because of things like this. You think the lawyers don't have sworn affidavits from their family members? You do know it's a crime. You do know you can go to jail if you perjure yourself. You do know that, right? You know it's a felony to lie to a federal prosecutor. You know it's a felony to lie to a grand jury. Trust me. And if they already have the transcripts to back it up, best believe that's the reason they're asking you. They just want to see if you, and if I'm your family member, hey, yeah, she told me that, dog. Listen, here's the text message she sent. You think they don't have phone records and text messages to back up this stuff? And you feel, I don't know why 2 grand juries couldn't do it, because things like this, not only inconsistencies, this is blatant. Plaintiff blank admitted she sought to blackmail Mr. Watson before she filed the suit. She asked him to pay her $30,000 for indefinite silence because her encounter would be embarrassing if he revealed it. More importantly, when Mr. Watson's marketing manager, Brian Burney, asked her whether she was claiming that something happened against her will, she confirmed that everything that occurred was consensual. Finally, she told Mr. Burney that she wanted a copy of the NDA that she and Mr. Watson signed before she did not want people in her industry to know she had provided, you can read that, sexual favors to her massage client. Evidence of her concerns is contained in Mr. Burney's affidavit and contemporaneous tape recording of the phone call conversation. You see, you can't just say anything. They have what we call contemporaneous notes. When you have contemporaneous notes, you've written down, I got notes. I jotted this down. So it was fresh in my mind. I went in and I signed it, initialed it, and that can be admitted as evidence because it corroborates what you are saying happened, that people can say, oh, that's hearsay. No, I got contemporaneous notes on that. I knew what was going down and I understood it. I put the notes down. All this is verifiable, people. Like, come on. You think they don't got the witnesses state that plaintiff blank has a history of 4 witnesses. These are people that they got forcing herself on celebrities, chasing celebrities, and running behind high-profile athletes. They also describe her as being out of money and a money grabber. During one of the press conferences, individual held regarding the case, plaintiff, the initial plaintiff, complained that she was not filing the suit for monetary reasons, but rather it was about her having her voice heard. It's about having other survivors' voices heard. Belaying her assertion, though, the plaintiff would have abandoned her voice and being the voice of other alleged survivors if Mr. Watson would have agreed to pay her $100,000. So it was all about the voices of other people. She wanted to be the poster child for people to still have courage to come out. And if it comes out that this woman is lying, That's not forgivable, bro. Because there's actually people out here who do need people that would put a voice to something, who do have crazy sexual assault experiences, can't talk to anybody, they can't talk to family members. Sometimes it's their family members. And for you to say that, if that's not true, is bad. That's just not a good look, man. And you wanted 100,000, and you would have abandoned all of that for 100K. Like I said before, I'm not gonna get to Exhibit F. If you're a woman and you got crazy people, fans are crazy, of course you would scrub your Facebook account. I don't know why you wouldn't, right? Especially if it's public record. This is telling. And it kind of says these people. So he has a general denial. Pursuant to Texas Rules Civil Procedure 92, Watson generally denies the allegations and claims set forth in the plaintiff's original petition and demands strict proof, therefore, of by a preponderance of evidence, a clear and convincing evidence is required by the Constitution and laws of the state of Texas. He also, Mr. Watson, requests a jury trial and submits the applicable fee contemporaneously with this filing. I'll ask for a jury trial. It's consistent with what he's been saying. Give me a trial. He ends up with a prayer. I won't read that. But for me, I don't want nobody to take this out of context. We did this today as an exercise into understanding that as media members, as individuals, you got to do more than just come out and crack your microphone on and keep talking about the same old regurgitating things. And I don't think if we would be talking about this consistently into the rest of the year, I would have been good. But what really had me and what really got in my crawl and what really got me about this is these same people that's talking about that now, they was nowhere to be found when Robert Kraft was doing it. And he's at the highest level of the food chain. The Bible says much is given, much is required. It also says heavy is the head that wears a crown. You the leader of the organization. You served no time. You didn't do no jail time. You never got prosecuted. They got you off on a technicality. You were caught on tape doing it. And yet and still, you telling me in some haughty up top bravado, well, it's about protecting the shield. No, it ain't. It's about protecting the good old boys network. Let's be real about it. Roger Goodell works for those guys. He works for the owners. He's a hired hand of the owners. Let's be clear about it. And for all those people that is jumping up and down and, oh my gosh, this is crazy. Blah, blah, blah. Listen, to be truthful, reality of it is 90% of it is because those individuals like Baker Mayfield. And we proved in our last conversation that we still have two different sets of standards in this country. And you can see it play out in the field, and you can see it play out here off the field. So there's some people that's never going to accept Deshaun Watson, and it's just because I like Baker. It is what it is. But if you're in the media, if you're a journalist, you doing something, hey, come out, do your research, find it. And even when you get this, don't take it for 100% fact. You come on here and say, well, I understand that. I can see where that goes. Oh, that was kind of shaky. But at the end of the day, the reality of the situation is this. There is no way any regular, sane human being seeing these documents, hearing this side of the story, can this then say, I'm going to blanket suspend you before any civil cases are heard or anything. You sound crazy when you see this. And this is public knowledge. Go check it out. You put the Google. Let's go back. It's right here. Put it in. Put that case number in. Right? This is all the documents. Put it in. At the end of the day, I'm just trying to give you the mirror. This is what we're doing now. I'm just giving you the facts. You make your own decision about it, man. Make up your own mind. But you got to start holding these dudes accountable for just sitting up here on these microphones day in and day out, cashing checks and not doing no research. As always, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. Maybe if you respect the real, if you respect what the people is out here putting down, and you respect people that's really doing it and not doing it just so they can get the moral high ground, but actually giving you information, subscribe to the Barbershop. Because at the end of the day, that's what I stand on. You ain't gotta like me. I may never get a verification check. I don't care. I may never get involved to get sent to the golf outings. I don't care. As long as I continue to do what I do and stand on what I stand on, it is what it is. I'd rather have 6,000 real followers than 15,000 and 30,000 trolls. If you know, you know.